In this video, I'd like to talk about another pair of tools in conjunction with the extrude tool. Now, let's just say that I have been working on a shape of some kind. I don't know what it is I'm making, but I have spent some time extruding and shaping it up to create whatever it is I need. And I reach a point where I think, oh, I need more edge loops here. Well, the problem is I don't want to mess with the shape I've already created, so I can't use the extrude tool to do this. Instead, I want to just add an edge loop into the shape that already exists. And to do that, I would need to go to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop Tool. And now I can just click here, and I've got a new edge loop. I'm going to undo that real quick, because I'm also going to double click this and show you. A double click right here, I can get my tool settings. What the tool settings for this look like, if I reset this to the default, by default it uses something called relative distance from edge. And what that means is if I click and hold my mouse down, I can drag it up and down. It'll insert my edge loops wherever it is my mouse is pointing. Let go. If instead I go to equal distance from edge, well, that's not going to be so obvious what's happening here. If I would once again show you from here, you can see what happens if I do relative. If it's halfway through the top, it's going to be halfway through the middle and halfway through the bottom. If it's a quarter of the way through the top, it's going to be a quarter of the way through the middle and a quarter of the way through the bottom. Same thing over here. So you can see as I move this back and forth, it blends back and forth between angled and straight. Well, if I use equal distance from edge and click over here, it's always going to be the same distance from the nearest edge I clicked on, even when I move all the way over here. That comes a bit of a problem if I get too close to this edge right there, and now I've got these two intersecting, and I wind up creating triangles. I don't want to do that too much. If I could bring it really close, I can see, well, this is the same distance here all the way along. It ignores the distances over here entirely. And then multiple edge loops. Right now it's set to number of edges 2. If I were to click anywhere on here, it's going to add 2 edge loops and equal distance apart. If I hold my mouse down, try to drag, it's going to ignore that and just keep always adding 2 edge loops. If I set this to 1, it's really good for just cutting something right in half, and I use that a lot. That's what my default usually is. I like to be able to cut things perfectly in half. And now I've got all these edges in here. I can, maybe use them for something. If I were to select these edges right there and extrude those out, now that's doing something there. If I were to select these edges here, extrude those out, start creating all kinds of interesting shapes out of this. It's a bit messy up there, but that happens a lot with extruding. But then I got to ask myself, well, are all of these edges actually doing anything? Do I need all these edges to get the effect that I'm looking for? And a lot of the time, if you've just been adding edge loops for the fun of it, they're not. For instance, this edge right here, now that I've flattened that out, it's not doing anything. This edge, that's not doing anything. Oftentimes I'll leave one in the middle just so I can cut it in half in the future if I need to. So I might leave that one there. This right here, that's not doing anything. But you might ask yourself, is this one doing anything? Well, yes, it's creating the front for this part right here. Even if it's not doing anything up here, it's still necessary for this right there. Same thing for this edge and this edge. They're all being used to create these edges that surround these extrusions right here. So, what do you do if you've got a bunch of edges that you don't need? Well, you could delete them, but watch what happens if you just delete an edge. Looks fine, right? Well, it's not. If I right-click, go to vertex mode, you can see, oh look, there are dots on all these edges. Those are vertices. And I don't want to have just random vertices floating around on my object. These create something called an n-gon. And an n-gon is a big problem. I'm going to undo that. Let me explain to you why an n-gon is a bad thing. So, in polygon modeling, there are 3 types of faces. There are quads. And a quad has 1, 2, 3, 4 edges, 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices. And quads are good. Most models are made almost entirely out of quads. Then we have tris. Tri is a triangle. It has 1, 2, 3 vertices, 1, 2, 3 edges. And then there are n-gons. An n-gon is any polygon with more than 4 vertices or edges. N is just an integer. in mathematics, and gon is polygon, so n dash gon. Now, when I insert an edge loop like I just did a minute ago, what happens is if I click this edge right here, it looks at the face next to it and it says, well, there's an edge to my left, there's an edge to my right, and then there's an edge opposite. I'm going to go from here right straight to there. Get to this one, edge to the left, edge to the right, edge in front of me, straight to there. Edge to the left, edge to the right, edge in front of me, I go straight there. And it goes straight through all those faces without any problems. When you do something that has a triangle in the middle of it, well, what happens is it does the same thing from here. It goes, whoop, here to here without any problems. But then it looks at this face and says, well, I've got an edge to the left, an edge to the right, and nothing in front of me. What am I going to do? Well, nothing. It stops right there. However, if I look at my vertices right here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices. And that also means I got 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. Even though these edges are lined up so it looks like one edge, they are 2 edges and they are separate from each other. And that means that next time I add an edge loop through this, it's going to hit here and it's going to go, well, I've got an edge to my left, got an edge to my right, and I got an edge in front of me, and it's going to go like this. This triangle has become a quad. Same thing right there. Right through there. It is an ugly quad. It is not a quad that looks like a quad, but it is a quad. That's why the tries are the second most common type of faces you'll see in modeling. Because if you have a try and you add an edge loop into it, it becomes a quad. It becomes a very awkward and hard to work with quad, but it at least becomes a quad. Well, what do you think is going to happen when it hits this pentagon or any other kind of n-gon? Well, it's going to go straight through these without problems, but it's going to hit this. Well, I got one to my left, one to my right. Oh no, I've gotten more than one in front of me. It's going to stop. But the problem is, unlike the try, this problem has not been resolved. This has not been turned into a quad. It is in fact now a 6-sided n-gon. So I add another edge loop. Oh, now it's a 7-sided. Now it's an 8-sided. Every time I add an edge loop, it just becomes more and more of a problem and is never ever fixed. And so that is why, if I were to select this edge loop again and just delete by hitting delete on my keyboard, I create n-gons. These are 2 separate edges divided by a vertex. This is not a single edge. This is not a quad. This is in fact a hexagon or an n-gon. All of these are n-gons all the way around. If I want to clean this up, I have to then select all my edges and hit delete, and I'll get rid of all the extra ones. It should hang on to the ones that are actually doing something, but these ones extraneous in the middle like that will be gone. However, doing that every single time is a bit of a pain in the neck, and I would recommend instead, if you want to delete an edge loop, what you want to do is instead go to Edit Mesh, go to Edge right here, delete Edge / vertex, or Control and Delete at the same time. And what that does is it will delete the edge and the associated vertices. I want to get rid of this edge right there. Just like that. Edit Mesh, delete Edge / vertex. I'd also recommend, in general, don't add edges that you don't need. That way you don't have to worry about that. That way, if you ever need to delete an edge, you won't because you didn't add it in the first place. I do wonder what it is I made. Who knows? That's it for today. See you in the next video.